Here.
Trustee Geezer.
Here.
Trustee Frusaloni.
Here.
Trustee Shorzy.
Here.
Trustee McCarthy.
Here.
Mayor Severino.
Here, please stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of our January 20th, 2020 special workshop meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by trustee McCarthy, seconded by trustee Frusaloni. Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Zalick.
Aye.
Trustee Loretta.
Aye.
Trustee Geezer.
Aye.
Trustee Frusaloni.
Aye.
Trustee Shorzy.
Abstain.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes of our January 2020, man, a lot of 20s, village board meeting?
So moved?
Second.
Moved by trustee Frusaloni, seconded by trustee Zalick. Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Zalick.
Aye.
Trustee Loretta.
Aye.
Trustee Geezer.
Aye.
Trustee Frusaloni.
Aye.
Trustee Shorzy.
Abstain.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
Under listening post items, we have number one, a proclamation recognizing the 100th anniversary of the League of Women Voters. And trustee Geezer had called me and asked me if he could read that, and I thought that was wonderful, so it's all yours.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. This is recognizing the 100th anniversary of the League of Women Voters. Whereas on February 14, 1920, the League of Women Voters, or the League, was formed at the Congress Hotel in Chicago, Illinois, in anticipation of the ratification of the 19th Amendment giving women the right to vote in the United States. And whereas the League was a political experiment designed to help 20 million women carry out their responsibilities as voters by educating them about issues in a nonpartisan manner. And whereas the League continues today as a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. And whereas the League now has members in over 700 local, county, and state leagues in all 50 states, plus the District of Columbia, and the Virgin Islands, and Hong Kong. And whereas the League of Women Voters of Illinois was incorporated on March 22, 1920, and in turn is composed of over 40 local leagues with almost 4,000 members. And whereas among those leagues in Illinois is the Wheaton League of Women Voters that was incorporated in 1955 and is composed of 100 members from Carroll Stream, Warrenville, West Chicago, Winfield, and Wheaton. And whereas leagues at all levels, among other activities, register voters, educates voters by holding candidate forums and publishing voter guides, publishing public policy research, and holding meetings on key issues. And whereas the League is a civic organization that has fought since 1920 to improve government and engage everyone in the decisions that impact their lives. Now, therefore, it be proclaimed by the Mayor and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Carroll Stream on behalf of all former and present elected and appointed officials and the residents of Carroll Stream that February 14th, 2020 is formally designated to celebrate the League of Women Voters and its vision of a democracy where every person has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate. Proclaim this third day of February 2020. And we have some members of the League of Women Voters, including President Mary Tupper and member Nancy Belowski. If you would like to come up, we could take a photo, but would you tell us a little bit about what the League does? You can both come up. Tell us what the League does, the local League does in Carroll Stream. You can come up to the podium. There's a microphone in that.
Great. Okay. Well, Mayor Severino and village trustees, on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Wheaton, which includes Carroll Stream and its service area, we thank you for this proclamation commemorating our 100th year anniversary. 100 years ago, women and men worked tirelessly to pass the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, which granted the women the right to vote. But the work of the League is not over. We continue to work for the next 100 years to register voters, educate voters, stop voter suppression, and generally advocate for voters' rights. In Carroll Stream, next week we are registering voters at the Outreach Community Center. And we have participated in Carol Stream's National Night Out for the past 2 years. We're grateful to our elected officials who have stepped up and are making the community a better place. We'd also just like to remind all eligible voters that early voting starts Thursday, February 6th, at the DuPage County Administration Building, and it's going to continue in various places throughout the community, including, I'm sure, in many of the malls. So just kind of finally say, please vote and encourage your family, friends, and neighbors to vote. And if you want to learn more about the league, just Google us. That's what I always do to find the Wheaton League. It's the quickest way to find us. So, I hope that you will be interested in us. And so again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Would you come up and take a photo with the group? Come on, behind.
Resolutions we do, proclamations don't.
Come on, come on.
I had to look at it for a second because I couldn't remember which one it was.
One, two, three. And one more. One, two, three.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For those of you that don't know, Mrs. Belowski, her husband's name is on the building. Was her, now you know why his name's on the building. He's got a wife like that. That's a good thing.
Mary, when did you say early voting starts?
It's going to start at the building on Thursday, the 6th.
And where at?
The Board of Elections in Town Farm.
The county building? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Anyone else? We're good? Okay. Second thing on our listening post is Sergeant Julie Johnson to be honored for the expansion of the Police Department's Special Olympics fundraising efforts and her work regarding officer resiliency. And I want to personally thank you for what you've done, because I see all the hard work that you've put in this, and I really appreciate it. I believe in Special Olympics, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. July of 2019, staff approved recognizing Julie for her efforts in expanding the Special Olympics fundraising and officer wellness. It's July of 2019 is when we said we were going to do this, but every time I made arrangements to read her honorable mention, she had upped her game and it was no longer valid. So we decided we'd wait for a full year before we recognized her. Julie takes on additional responsibilities all the time. She's a sergeant. That means she's got a big job every day to take care of the street and her team. All of our sergeants get additional roles, and Julie, for the better part of 20 years, has been teaching and coordinating our defensive tactics program, which is a huge responsibility. If that wasn't enough, she is also our TASER program coordinator, which means she's responsible for getting everyone the training for our TASER program, the equipment, and she's also our point of contact for a 2-year study with Axon and a researcher out of Georgia. It's not defensive tactics, it's a whole other monster, equally as large. So in addition to all those responsibilities, Julie raised her hand, stepped forward and said she wanted to participate in Special Olympics and she wanted to work on officer wellness. And so her honorable mention is as follows. In addition to your daily responsibilities as a patrol sergeant, you are trusted with several additional duties to coordinate and develop programs for the police department. These obligations all represent significant effort on your part. Beyond your additional assigned responsibilities, you requested to expand the department's Special Olympics efforts and develop an officer resiliency program. Very visible results of your efforts include an expanded Cop on a Rooftop program that raised in excess of $7,000. The first time a segment of the law enforcement torch run was held in Carol Stream. Carol Stream Police Department participated in the opening ceremonies and medal awards of the 2019 Special Olympics Summer Games in Bloomington, Illinois. 2019 Special Olympics fundraising totaling $20,172. A side note is that her goal was $15,000, and she reached that and she just kept going. She also implemented the creation of a new, easily available wellness library with updated materials, the organization of a well-attended Department Family Fun Day at the Police Department. What is not immediately visible is the extraordinary effort you put forth to achieve these results. You networked, researched, changed your schedule to work on off days, and volunteered your personal time to organize, run, and attend events. You contribute creativity, energy, and caring towards the programs that result in positive interactions with our community and very much to the benefit of our police department family. Your efforts serve as an example to others and are greatly appreciated. She puts a lot of work in all the time, and it's really my honor to be working with you. I'm sure Julie has something to mention about Special Olympics, so I'll give her the floor.
Well, I actually have something to mention about both, if that's okay. So I'll start with Special Olympics because, well, first of all, let me just say, both of these topics I'm extremely passionate about, so I'll try not to get emotional, so I can't help it. Special Olympics, when I decided to take Special Olympics over, as I told you guys last year when I was here and we talked about this, I just felt it was important to like fully immerse myself and just really be involved. So that's what I did. And I was fortunate enough to attend some great events. We went down to Summer Games last year and were able to give out medals to the athletes and just be a part of that environment. A lot of athletes have come to our events. We've created a lot of friendships with some of these athletes. And I think it's really important just to note that the Law Enforcement Torch Run is one of the single biggest contributors to Special Olympics. So Law Enforcement Torch Run almost fully funds the Summer Games, so which is huge. And so law enforcement is really important to all of those athletes, and they couldn't do what they do. All of those services wouldn't be available to them without us. But I would be completely remiss if I did not acknowledge the people that actually helped me do this, because I did not do this by myself. This was a huge undertaking. Like I said, and I was just at the summer kickoff in Bloomington on Friday and was presented with our plaque for our $20,172.51 in fundraising for last year, which was by far the most we've ever raised in this department. As you know, my goal was to get on the back of the shirt, which was $15,000. So this is the shirt for next year. It's very nice.
It is nice.
And our name is at number 45 on the back of the shirt, so that's super cool. But like I said, there are so many people that helped us raise this much money. I could never have done this by myself. So I have a great group that like just appeases me and goes along with all my crazy ideas and has ideas of their own. So I just want to just acknowledge them really quick. So Deputy Chief Jungers is one of those who's there for every single event and has been extremely supportive in all of the fundraising efforts. The Johansson family, Kirsten, Linda, and Perry, every event they're there. We have meetings after meetings after meetings, and they do popcorn for me when I can't, they're just there all the time, so I appreciate that. John Freckeld is my muscle, right? He's out there like pushing those raffle tickets all the time, and so I really appreciate all the support too. And so many of you, Matt, have been helpful with the fundraisers, with the bean bags and all that stuff. Mayor, all your raffle tickets and all that stuff is all very helpful. And there's other people that I just don't have time to acknowledge everybody, but it really was a team effort. So that's all I wanted to say about that.
So I have to ask
Yeah.
you a question. So to fund all of the Special Olympics, most of that money comes from the torch runs?
So the Summer Games, that is largely from the Law Enforcement Torch Run. So of all the money collected in Illinois for Special Olympics, about a quarter of it comes from the Torch Run.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
So,
hard work, I'll
Yeah.
tell you. Thank you.
yeah. Oh, I just do want to mention, though, our first fundraiser of this year is February 29th. There's at least 10 of us so far doing the polar plunge. So that'll be a first time for me anyway, and for some of those. So that's on February
I have
29th.
done the polar plunge before.
Well, we are looking for team members in case you want to do it
I
again.
didn't volunteer, I'm just saying.
I heard you volunteered. That's what I heard.
I'm just saying, so. So I just wanted to take a minute too to talk about the officer wellness and resiliency. And just to give you a little bit of background on that, because 2 years ago, when I went to the staff and command, my staff study was on implementing an emotional wellness program for police. And I stuck specifically to emotional wellness because we had tried in the past to do, physical fitness, and it just never worked. But emotional wellness was something that was really important to me, and it was something that we are severely lacking, not just here at our department, but law enforcement wide. And the only thing that we really have in place for our officers is the EAP, which, as you probably know, is very underused, and especially in a culture like ours. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is that we work in a profession that is very unique. Just in the things that we see and we do, and we see a lot of things that most people don't see. We see things that most people shouldn't see. And over time, those things take a toll. So they take a toll on officers emotionally, physically, in so many different ways. And we don't really have the resources up to this point to help our officers. As a matter of fact, we've always worked in a culture where you couldn't be okay. You just had to suck it up because if you didn't, you'd appear weak and all sorts of other things. So asking for help was never really an option. So when I came back from staff and command, and I sat down with then Chief Saylor and went over my staff study with him, and he gave me the green light to go ahead and start researching some of the things that I had suggested that we do. And so I had formed a wellness committee for the police department, and for the past year, we've been tirelessly researching and looking at different resources that are available to us. So we did institute a wellness library about a year ago. That was one of the first things we did. And then we also, which is just a bunch of, there's a lot of books down there about dealing with stress, fatigue, resiliency, all that kind of stuff, and some just officer safety things, tactical stuff. We also started a quarterly newsletter that goes home to all of the families and to the retirees. And the purpose of the newsletter is to offer wellness information in addition to just keeping the retirees connected to the police department, because once they retire, unless they're like a trustee or something, they don't really have a connection anymore. It's true. They don't have a connection, and this was their identity for so many years, and so they're gone, and then they feel like, a little bit lost, and that's sad. We also did this Family Fun Day because we realized that the family is a very important component of officer wellness. Their support and their understanding is crucial, and so we wanted to try to bring the family in. So we've done those things. Unfortunately, that is just very barely scratching the surface. Right now, we're working on instituting a peer support, and very grateful to see that that is in the budget so that we are able to send some officers to peer support training and get that rolling. But ultimately, there's a lot of things that we would like to implement in addition to that. One is continuing psychological services for officers. Some departments have great programs where officers are able to go quarterly or 4 times a year for mental checkups, where they sit down with a psychologist, and it just kind of, they're able to talk about the things that they've seen on the job and that sort of thing. And we would like to institute a chaplain program, also continue outreach with the retirees, and a bunch of other things. So we really have a long way to go. But as we've seen in recent years, the number of law enforcement suicides has far surpassed the line of duty deaths. And that's largely because, the cumulative stress that officers suffer, and not really any release for that or any proper way to take care of it. So I could really talk about this for hours, but I won't. But I did want to read something, if I could, really quick. And because I had read this just recently, and I actually posted on my Facebook, so any of you that are friends with me, you may have read it, but I just thought it's very powerful, and it kind of, I think sometimes people don't realize the toll that this job takes on officers. So I just wanted to read this to you if I could, and hopefully I'll get through it, because it is a little emotional, but, it's been modified a little bit to make it short, but like I said, I just think it's sort of powerful. So it's called If I Could Forget What My Eyes Have Seen. And it basically says, if I could forget what my eyes have seen, I would stop the years of tragedy from replaying in my head while trying to sleep at night. I would no longer see the face of the young child I couldn't save from drowning. I would no longer see the lifeless bodies laying on the highway at the fatal crashes that I've worked. I would forget the look on a parent's face when I had to tell them that their child was never coming home. I would no longer see the bodies of every homicide victim I've ever seen over the years. I would not remember what a decomposed body looks like, or even worse, what it smells like. I would forget the look of fear and pain on every domestic violence victim's face who endured abuse from someone they loved. I would erase the images of child abuse, sex trafficking, and child porn I was forced to see throughout my career. My heart would be softer, my trust more attainable, and my guard not always up. I'd be less skeptical, less cynical, and remember that kindness and humanity still exists. I would sleep without issues, cold sweats, and repetitive dreams of being killed would be a thing of the past. I would not have to sit with my back against the wall every time I'm out in public, forever on alert, just in case evil were to show up. I'd be forever free from the truth that evil is real, that it's out there. I know it is because I've looked into its eyes. If I could forget what my eyes have seen, I would not be a police officer. These are the burdens we carry, the price we pay to keep others safe. This is the truth behind our badge. So I think that applies to probably everybody in this room. There's no doubt that we are not the same people even a week after we start this job because of all the things that we say. And I know a lot of people say that, we knew what we signed up for, and I don't
I
think.
gotta applaud you. I gotta tell you, thank you for doing that. I don't think a lot of people have a clue of what you go through. They just think that you get a big pension and then you float off and do something. They have no idea. So
They
thank
pay our
you for
salaries
doing
too.
Yes.
They also think they pay our salaries and we sign up for it.
that. I forgot you're an expert.
Yes.
That's why you're here too. But thank you for that. It was very, very touching, and you're right, I could see it would be.
Yeah. So I just, people do say that we know what we signed up for when we got into this job, but I think that although we all get into this job because we want to help people, we don't have any idea what we're going to face, throughout a career. So I just think it's really imperative that we institute a wellness program for our officers. They need it, and they're worth it, and it's like way overdue. So that's why I'm working so hard at that. So, thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Okay, Julie, don't leave yet, because I think we're gonna want a picture with you here too. But
Okay.
just a few things I wanna mention, and obviously as a firefighter, I've been a firefighter 26 years. The things you're doing, with the wellness is so incredibly important. It wasn't that long ago when even talking about, some of the stuff that Julie's talking about, it was off limits, it was taboo. You showed signs of weakness when you mentioned that maybe you're holding this stuff in and dealing with the stress of it, the post-traumatic stress disorder, and then suicides. We're very fortunate as firefighters, not only we see a lot of the same stuff, but we also see a lot of good stuff. You guys only see things at their worst. You guys only deal with people at their worst every single time. And then, and much of the time, you don't get the kudos and the thank yous, You have to go home and deal with it. And so this stuff that she's talking about is as simple as it sounds. It's long past due. It's very, very important. The state fire Firefighters Union just put together their Peerless program throughout the state just in the last few years. So I just want to express to the people that this is really a huge step, and it's so very, very important. So thank you for your work on that.
But also, like I said, when I was an officer years ago, we dealt with a child that died, and it was pretty traumatic. And we didn't have anything in place in the police department And the fire department actually invited us for a debriefing and to talk to people. So you guys were well ahead of the game. And you guys do see stuff like we do, but usually at night, no offense, you're sleeping. We are first on the
I'll be
scene.
sure to call you tomorrow night when I get up for my call. You enjoy your retirement.
My ringer will be off, but again, we are out there, and we usually are the first on the scene, and when it's and you guys are soon following us, yeah, you guys were well ahead of the game, and this was, I think, 5, 6 years, I mean, this was a long time ago, and you guys had someone there to talk about it, and we didn't, and you invited us over there, so, again, thank you for that, but this is long overdue.
One other thing, since you brought it up, and, you know, I have enormous respect for all of you guys. You guys are the good guys.
Yeah, we are.
They love you.
I know.
You know, they don't love us so much, and so that's a whole nother
It's a shame.
element.
You don't write tickets.
It's a
You
shame.
know, yeah, so,
Can you come out, can we get a picture with her?
Julie, you're absolutely awesome.
thank you.
And the
That's
next,
really nice.
your next fundraiser, part of Special Olympics is of course March 7th and 8th, because you're splitting the Kids Bags Tournament with the Ronald McDonald House.
That is correct, yeah, we're very excited about that.
Am I standing on the side? Okay. Hold the plaque up.
Yeah, over there.
One, two, three. One more. One, two, three.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
He told me.
Oh, did. That was kind of fun.
The next thing on our agenda, we have addresses from the audience. Anybody in the audience that would like to come up? We allow 3 minutes. Nobody? There being none? Nobody, for sure? Okay. Did you want to speak? No? Okay. Is there a motion to establish a consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee McCarthy, seconded by trustee Swarzy. Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Zalick.
Aye.
Trustee LaRocca.
Aye.
Trustee Giesers.
Yes.
Trustee Frizzoni.
Aye.
Trustee Schwarzy.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, would you please read what is on the consent agenda?
Certainly. Under Board and Commission reports, number 1, Plan Commission Zoning Board of Appeals, A, 19-0046 Merlot Residence, 177 El Paso Lane, zoning code variation to allow for a commercial vehicle to be parked on a driveway in a residential district. Recommend approval with conditions 4-0.
Yes.
Yes.
Under staff reports and recommendations, number 1, creation of a new state and federal asset seizure account.
Yes.
Yes.
Under ordinances, 1, ordinance amending Chapter 11, Article 2 of the Carroll Stream Code of Ordinances by decreasing the number of Class A liquor licenses from 13 to 12, Char House LLC doing business as John and Tony's, and increasing the number of Class A liquor licenses from 12 to 13, T42 Inc., doing business as John and Tony's, 27W371 North Avenue, West Chicago.
Yes.
Yes.
That's ordinance number 2020-2-3. Number 2, ordinance amending Chapter 11, Article 2 of the Carroll Stream Code of Ordinances by decreasing the number of Class J liquor licenses from 1 to 0, Char House LLC doing business as John and Tony's, and increasing the number of Class J liquor licenses from 0 to 1, T42 Inc., doing business as John and Tony's, 27W371 North Avenue, West Chicago.
Yes.
Yes.
That's ordinance number 2020-2-4. Number 3, ordinance approving a zoning code variation, parking a commercial vehicle in a residential district, Merlot Residence, 177 El Paso Lane.
Yes.
Yes.
That's ordinance number 2020-2-5. Under new business, 1, proposed 2020 summer concert series lineup.
Yes.
Yes.
That's awesome.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I was just telling her it looks awesome.
Okay, thank you. Number 2, raffle license application, amplification permit request, summer concerts, and support our troops.
Yes.
Yes.
Is there a motion to put those items on the consent
Wait,
agenda?
I'm not done
Yeah,
yet.
she's got.
Oh, I'm sorry. Have we missed one? Oh,
Number 3, raffle license application, American Cancer Society, request for approval raffle license and waiver of their fee and manager's fidelity bond for their Bags of Life tournament to be held at specific dates from February 6, 2020 through March 11, 2020 at Christie's Bar and Grill, 552 North Gary Avenue.
Yes.
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 Number 4, raffle license application, Cloverdale Elementary School PTA, request for approval raffle license and waiver of the fee and manager's fidelity bond for their trivia night on February 8, 2020.
Yes.
Yes.
Payment of bills. Number 1, regular bills, January 21, 2020 through February 3, 2020.
Yes.
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 Number 2, addendum warrants, January 21, 2020 through February 3, 2020.
Yes.
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 now is there a motion to put those items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Giesers, seconded by trustee Frusaloni. Clerk call the roll.
Trustee Zalik.
Aye.
Trustee LaRocca.
Aye.
Trustee Giesers.
Aye.
Trustee Frusaloni.
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve those items by omnibus vote?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee Swarzy, first, seconded by trustee Frusaloni. Clerk call the roll.
Trustee Zalik.
Aye.
Trustee LaRocca.
Aye.
Trustee Giesers.
Aye.
Trustee Frusaloni.
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
Before we go into report officers, I would like to tell Mr. Quattrochi that everything is done. Thank you for your presence tonight, and we're looking forward to working with you at T42? John and Tony's, thank you. This is the owner of the restaurant now, so. Thank you. Report officers. Trustee LaRocca.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, Julie Johnson, trustee Schwarzy says you don't often get kudos, but for tonight, you're going to get kudos right here from us right now for your efforts with everything that you're doing. Awesome job, and the words can't express how I feel about this evening. Great job, Julie. League of Women Voters, they left early. What an awesome organization. One, in the proclamation that trustee Gieser read, there's one word that strikes home with me, and that's responsibilities. Voting is everybody's responsibility, and I've been, the past few meetings, I've been ending my report with do your homework and get out and vote. It's your civic duty to do that, and I'm not telling you it's your responsibility to go out and vote. I'm just telling you it's your responsibility to go out and vote. It's supposed to be funny. So please go out and vote. What else? What else we got here? I guess that ends my report. Thank you.
Get out and vote, I like that, but know who you're voting for.
Well, do your homework and get out and vote.
I know, I heard what you said. Thank you.
Well, thank you for reinforcing that.
I was listening. Trustee Gieser.
Thank you very much. Also, congrats to Julie Johnson for all she does for Special Olympics, and thank you for the work you're doing within the department for the resiliency and the wellness. Very well needed, so thank you. And congrats to the League of Women Voters. It was funny that after one of our last meetings, and trustee LaRocca mentioned his make sure you go out to vote, a League of Women Voters representative, a member, sent me the request if we could do the resolution, and I was like, well, trustee LaRocca has been mentioning this very thing, and this is the type of organization that does a great job in nonpartisan information, so congratulations. Tia, thank you very much for the hard work you're putting into the Thursday night concert. Looks like a great lineup. I don't know if anyone noticed, but one of the bands is like a hair metal band called Hair.
we will be having Hair Band Night, which is a brother program to Boy Band Night, which was extremely successful last summer.
Well, why I say that is like, this is going to be the summer of hair metal, because everyone's talking about, or trying to get tickets for the Poison, Def Leppard, Motley Crue show, and just today it was announced now Guns N' Roses are coming to Wrigley Field as well. So we're going to have our own little Hair Nation right here in Carroll Stream. So thank you for all the work you did. And finally, I just want to mention that, I mentioned this at the last meeting, but the village has received 6, 7, 8 requests to locate a cannabis grow facility in the village. And I think based on the knowledge that there's a number of businesses that would like to locate these grow facilities in our industrial park, we need to reconsider, or we should reconsider, our restriction of them. The village does allow medical grow facilities, and I think it's time that we also allow the recreational facilities. This would provide jobs, decrease vacancy in the industrial park, and provided much-needed money to the community. I think, and I don't know what the actual rationale would be, or the mechanism to do this, but I think we should, I would like to ask staff if we could reconsider this, and maybe if you could look into it, maybe put up an ordinance that we can consider for a future meeting. I don't know what we need to do that. Would we talk to you? Would we talk to the attorney?
Staff can be directed to prepare an amendment to the code allowing for grow facilities in the industrial district. I don't know if there's any other conditions that the board would want to consider for that.
Well, I would recommend, since, many people on the board were saying it should
Similar to
be
the
equal,
medical?
similar to what the medical was, so something I would be interested in. Do we need a roll call?
Since the code amendment would be a change to the zoning code to allow it in a particular district, it would require public hearing before the Plan Commission as a text amendment. So if the consensus of the board was to take a look at that, then the direction would be for staff to go ahead and prepare a notice of public hearing before the Plan Commission to make a determination as to whether or not these types of facilities should be allowed in a particular district in town.
Mr. Miller, how many actual businesses or grow facilities out there have requested?
We've received 8
8
inquiries.
requests, okay. Have we received any requests for the dispensary, for sales?
I don't believe we have. I think before the law went into effect, we had 1 inquiry, but it was just a general inquiry.
No follow-through or anything?
No follow-through.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would be in favor of Trustee Geezer's proposal.
Anyone else have anything to add to that?
I'm not in favor of it. We voted for it. I think it's way too early. Just because companies are calling does not mean that it's the right time for Carroll Stream. I'm not in favor of sending it back to change the ordinance.
From someone who hates drugs more than you, I made my point clear that I'm not in favor of it, anything to do with recreational marijuana.
Okay, so where does that leave us?
2-2.
I'm on the fence. I got to think about it a little bit more.
Understand that it's legal in the state of Illinois because of J.B. Pritzker. I'm in favor of staff looking into it. We're not voting to approve it right now. We are having staff look into it.
Exactly.
And that'll buy us time to do more research and so forth. So I am in favor of staff looking into it.
So to save Trustee McCarthy, we have 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and I'll break the tie and say, look into it. So then we could ride All we're doing is looking into it. That's what we're
Yep.
doing, correct?
So does looking into it include having it go before the Plan Commission to have them review it?
I would say, and as far as I'm concerned, yes.
If that's what the board desires, yes.
May I ask a question? If the Plan Commission decides to take the course that they took the last time by not voting and sending it back to us, would the procedure be the same where we would hold a public hearing here and then we would have to vote on it?
It would come back to the board.
Yeah, you don't have to hold a public hearing here. I mean, obviously, people have the right to speak during public comment. Like
Be on the agenda as a regular agenda.
There's no public hearing requirement per se.
Well, you have your direction.
Okay.
Thank you. That's my report.
Thank you, sir. Julie, again, I'm going to echo everything else that's been said today, but, you know, you're making life better for your fellow officers. You're making life better for, you know, athletes and their families, so thank you very, very much. And congratulations on the 100-year anniversary of League of Women Voters. Thank you for all you do. They're very active in our local elections. They're constantly holding meet and greets or forums where candidates kind of debate each other, and they do a really nice, nonpartisan job getting that information out. And like they mentioned, early voter registration for the March 17th primary begins this Thursday, February 6th, certainly at the county building, and then I think at some point Stratford Mall also has early voting. So get out and vote like everyone said so far, and please remember to shop in Carroll Stream. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Swarzy. Trustee Zalick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to wish the League of Women Voters a happy 100th anniversary. I did some research earlier, and I'm surprised that Emma Smith DeVoe has not been mentioned because she was the one who proposed this organization in 1909. And it was only supposed to be women and to empower women in public affairs, but then they, in 1973, the men were allowed to join also. So congratulations to them for reaching their 100th anniversary. I also want to thank Sergeant Johnson for doing what she does for Special Olympics and for her work with officer resiliency. I can honestly speak that you know, I looked up suicide for officers, and in 2017, in the country, there was 172 reported suicides. In 2018, the number jumped to 228. And that's reported suicides. That's where the deaths are reported as suicides. It possibly is probably a lot more, but they might not be reported as suicides. And for those people that say that we signed up for that is absurd and rather ignorant, because I didn't see on the application where it checked off, do you want to see a dying baby in the middle of the night, or checked off a fatal crash with a 80,000-pound truck at North and Gary when the impact exploded a woman's body where I can see all the organs. And I know it's tough, but we had to deal with that. We all have to deal with that. And so for someone to say, well, you signed up for it, is just ridiculous. And I'm not going to say anything more. Because that leads to alcoholism, that leads to divorce, that leads to a lot. And God forbid, and eventually suicide. So it's long overdue. So thank you. I want to mention that with the 2 to 6 inches of snow that are predicted Wednesday and Thursday, don't park on the street. Let the plows plow through, and then you can park on the street. And finally, the last tidbit of information is on this very day in 1809, the territory of Illinois was created on this very day. So happy birthday, Illinois. And that concludes my report.
Now I'm really excited. Thank you, trustees. They look very good. Trustee Frizzaloni.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations, Julie. Very well deserved. While Special Olympics has been very near and dear to my heart, the wellness of our police officers is even more near and dear. I grew up the daughter of a fireman, and it took my dad, he's been retired almost 26 years now, and he just started talking about things that he saw on the job within the last 5 years. So it took him 20 years after he had put in 28 years on the job before he would open up about some of the things that he saw, because now he feels it's okay to talk about. So I think it is very important to take care of our officers. The one thing that I mentioned back in September when we had that horrific fatal accident at Armstrong Park is the worst feeling in the world was knowing that 7 of our officers went to the hospital and feeling absolutely helpless, waiting for updates to see how everybody was doing. So thank you. It is very, very important and very needed. I also want to thank the Cloverdale Elementary School. Trustee Geezer and I attended, as well as the police department, attended their family literacy night last week. It was a great night. We had a lot of fun. Trustee Geezer and I were kind of a little ignored because we had Daisy, the therapy rabbit bunny, in the room with us, and the kids just wanted to come and see the bunny.
We had to share the room with a bunny.
We did, and it was a fluffy bunny. It was a lion head bunny. It looked like a cat, but acted like a bunny. So it used to be the school's like pet, and then one of the teachers took it home and is getting certified for it to be a therapy pet. So we did get to read about polar bears and walruses and penguins, but they really did not want to hear from us. I will say, however, though, that the room that the police officers were in was very popular. There was a lot of families that stopped in, some really great pictures that were posted by District 93. So thank you again for the invite. Are you guys having a side
I'm just trying to
conversation?
picture rabbit ears on it.
Shut up. I also want to congratulate the 2019 Citizen of the Year recipients. Many of us attended the dinner this past Saturday night. This year, we had, in all of the categories, we had multiple nominees, it was a big year. There was 14 different people that were nominated across the 4 different categories. So it was very, very tough, really to pick a winner, because every single person, when they were reading their bios, gives so much to Carol Stream. But this year's 2019 Female Citizen of the Year is Margaret LeBrew she was nominated by the Carol Stream Historical Society. The Female Special Citizen of the Year was Vicki Collier. She was nominated by St. Luke's Catholic Church. Male Citizen of the Year was Jack Moran, who was nominated by St. Luke's Parish as well. Male Special Citizen of the Year, it was Jim Benson, who was nominated by the Carol Stream Park District. And then there was 3 people that were nominated for the Judges Recognition Award, and those are non-Carol Stream residents who give an awful lot of their time within Carol Stream. So Marina Mattingly was nominated by the Carol Stream Rotary Club, and Kim and Jeff Wall were nominated by Lutheran Church of Master. So congratulations to all of the nominees. And with that, I will end my report.
Thank you, Trustee Frizzalone. Trustee McCarthy.
Well, congratulations to the League of Women's Voters. I agree with everybody, a great nonpartisan group that just wants people to know who they're voting for, to get to know them. So it's a great organization. Julie, the officer resiliency is just, it's important and it's awesome that you took that on. That's an unbelievable task. I can't even imagine to understand how difficult it is. So I'm not going to pretend I do, but I appreciate that you do it. And of course, the Special Olympics, kind of like the rest of us, it gets special. It is special to us, and we love getting involved. That's why I'm excited that we're partnering up again this year for the kids' bags tournament on the 7th and 8th. That, like I said, it'll be evenly split between Ronald McDonald Houses, and we gave it all to them last year, Ronald McDonald House, and this year, after talking to Julie, we decided we'd split it, and we're doing 2 days. So we're hoping that it's a couple of huge turnouts. But also, thank you and congratulations to everybody who helps you. I get that. There's no doing anything alone. And they're a great group of people. I know them all, and they're just wonderful people, and they just want to help. So congratulations on having them, too. Speaking of teams, it's February, so that means it's bag season. For the fourth year in a row, the village staff play-in will kick off our bags tournament this Thursday. And then we have a little time off, then we jump into the regular tournament on the 18th, 19th, 24th, 26th, March 1st, 4th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 11th. Of course, Mary Frusaloni, Laura Zarnicki, Paul Zarnicki, my wife, Linda, my daughter Shannon, and son-in-law Tim, Sarah Marcucci, Nick Porter, Gene Mondrala, Bob Flood, Brad Burrows, and the whole Chrissy's family, the whole Sobolewski family, all are part of our committee. And it's an awesome committee, but where we're lucky is the amount of people who've donated raffle prizes. It's unbelievable. I mean, first up, everybody on this board has donated something, and you don't know how much that means to us. The mayor has unwavering support, as I said, from day one. But also people in the community reach out to us, anything from Village Tavern to people who make things on as side jobs, to people who they have their own businesses and they want to donate something. And it keeps coming, and it's wonderful because we raised a little over $21,000 last year. We're hoping to break that. I'm not going to put a figure on it. We're hoping to break it. But we are doing something slightly different, that 70% will go to the Relay for Life. 30% is going to stay local, local charities inside of our boundaries. We have an idea where it's going, but that'll be a surprise. We'll start selling tickets, raffle tickets for the $5 raffle probably on Thursday. They'll be available all over the place. All of us will reach out. Then our $1 raffles are every night of the tournament. They're different, but you got to be present to win those. It's always a great time. Chrissy's donates 15% of all food and drink profits, or food and drink totals that for each night. So we have an opportunity to raise more money there also. And we're even having a kickoff party. They hired a musician, Jorge Rodriguez, on the 15th of February at Chrissy's. And they're going to also share their food and drink profit with us from that night. And everybody's invited. You can check out what our raffles will be. You'll also have an opportunity to sign up a team, because we still have about 20 spots out of the 115 available. So it'll be a good night. That'll start at 7. And I hope to see everybody out. And again, thank you, everybody. And thank you, staff, for, again, like I said, the fourth year in a row of kicking it off. And the support is humbling, to say the least. So thank you very much. And with that, it's the end of my report.
Thank you, Matt. I know it's not easy and it's a lot of work, so appreciate it. Madam Clerk?
I just would like to basically reiterate what everybody else is saying, especially about Julie and all your hard work. I've seen you at all of your, I shouldn't say all, at the events that I'm able to attend, and I see you commanding the whole situation with ease is what it looks like to me. So thank you for everything that you do. And my stepfather also is a police officer, and yeah, so I have a little insight, not much though, but thank you for all that you do for us. And also, congrats to all the Citizen of the Year winners, and even everybody who was nominated. What a great group of people that do so much for everybody in town, and even those who don't live in town doing for us. And then also, congrats and thank you to the League of Women Voters. As what's been mentioned tonight is that, voting is very important. And the more word that gets out, the better it is. Even getting our youth involved and, getting those 18-year-olds signed up and whatnot is very important. And if everybody could just keep our first responders, military, police, fire, everybody who takes care of all of us, keep them all in their minds, in their hearts. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rhodes, our village attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As most of you know, on last Wednesday, Governor Pritzker gave his State of the State address, and the new legislative session kicked off. There's a number of very important bills for local government that are in the hopper. Senator Pritzker has talked about ethics reform for the Illinois legislature. So we'll see where that goes, and I think it's important that everyone be vigilant and watch where that goes and provide their input to their legislators on how ethics reform should be for them. One very important bill for local government is Senate Bill 2742, which provides for automatic appropriations of all local funds, so that local funds appropriations would be automatic and instantaneous and would no longer require an appropriation each year. And as you recall, a couple of years with the infighting that went on and the budget impasse that occurred, local funds were held up for a significant period of time. So this particular legislation would eliminate that possibility and would allow for local governments to get their money right away. The Illinois Municipal League is suggesting that all municipalities indicate to their legislature how important that particular piece of legislation is to the village. There are others, but I won't go into them now. I can give you more information as they pop up and we see what's going on. But it appears that this is going to be another session where there's going to be a lot of bills that will affect local government one way or the other. The Illinois Municipal League has sponsored a number of bills which they're suggesting that municipalities get out and support. So with that, I will just say we'll watch and see. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. Mr. Muller, our village administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. During last year's budget, or property tax workshops, staff and the village board were asked many times, what we're doing to control costs, and are we applying for any grants, and how are we reducing expenditures. So I thought I'd read a couple of items that we were recently notified of. ComEd last week notified us that we were the recipients of another energy efficiency grant for installation of LED streetlights. And this isn't the first time that our Public Works Department has received the grant for energy efficiency lights in the village. That grant was almost $26,000. Also, we were asked, how can we attract new businesses to town? Last week, we were notified that Ship Fusion, which is an e-commerce and fulfillment business, will be occupying one of our larger industrial buildings on North Avenue. It's almost 400,000 square feet. So that will help with the property tax and whatever electrical use they use, since we also have a utility tax. Last week, IDOT bid the Gary Avenue multi-use path, which is the path that will extend from the Great Western Trail to Army Trail Road. That's a little over a $2 million project. That project will be undertaken by DuPage County. However, we were required to apply for a federal grant for that. And back in 2011, we applied for the grant. 9 years later, the project was awarded, but we received about $1.9 million for that. So a good portion of that will be paid by federal money. We received approval of the design contract from IDOT for the Lees Road Bike Trail, which will run from Gary Avenue to Schmale Road. We expect the project to be bid and constructed in 2021. So that'll continue the bike trail along Lees Road all the way to Schmale. And then again, congratulations to Julie. You did a great job. Raised a lot of money for Special Olympics. I remember the Culver's fundraising that you did, also the Cop on Top and the Town Center concerts that you were at. I mean, it seems like you were everywhere. And the Officer Resiliency Program, which is very important, as everybody else has mentioned. Trustee Fruzzoloni mentioned the car crash incident last year where one of the students was killed. And due to your efforts, we brought in some counselors to talk to the officers, which was very well received and important. So thank you for all you do for the department. And then congratulations to the Citizen of the Year award recipients, not only to the award recipients, but the nominees. I mean, they all do an incredible amount of volunteer work, and without them, you know, a lot of things wouldn't get done. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Sergeant Julie Johnson, thank you. I know you get a lot of help from all the rest of the police department, but the volunteers play a big part too. I notice they're always out there with you. That's because they believe in what you do and they enjoy doing it. I noticed tonight there was some that were here. That's good leadership, brings in good people. Thank you. And thank you to the two deputy chiefs that are standing there. Thank you, because it takes support from everybody to get something done. One person can't do it alone. Everybody has to feel like they're involved in it to make it happen, and they should be. I have a friend on the Chicago Police Department that his wife is on the suicide line. So I understand what you're saying. I have sat and talked to her for a long time, and she went on there. She was a surgical nurse and went on there because her husband would go home with stories. He works in the training division at the police academy. And some of the things that he'd go home with and tell her, she always wondered, how do you handle a job like that? So she is on that hotline, which I'm very proud of her, very wonderful person. I want to thank Trustee McCarthy for filling in for me for the last couple of meetings. Thank you. And the staff and the board, thank you. It's always in good hands. We don't have to worry if we're not here. One of us or two of us aren't here. We have a good group of people that understand what's going on, backed up by a great staff. One of the things that we talked about tonight was the cannabis thing. We went through this before. 1 month, $40 million in sales. I think that's probably a lot more than they thought it would be. Those of you that heard what I said when we talked about cannabis, if we do get to cannabis in this town, it's going to be used for the right things. It's not going to be used to buy better road control stuff, or it's not going to be used for engineering. You might as well get it all in your head. It's going to be used to help the people of this community and maybe put some money into the police department. I know you're going to get 8%, I think. I think that might be the number. Is that right, 8%? To use, but I'm sure there's always more money that could be used. I wouldn't take that money and use it for anything other than the residents of Carroll Stream, for whatever we need it for. If it's Meals on Wheels, if it's anything that's good, and we'd have to figure out how we could handle that. I made it clear that would be the only way that I would go along with it, and I think that that would be the only way it could be done, is to use it the right way, not for anything other than the right way. And we have a lot of people in this town that are below the poverty level. We have a lot of kids in this town that don't get to eat on a regular basis, and we found that out this summer with the school programs. I mean, there's a lot of things that we could do if we do it the right way. We're not like the rest of the towns are like the state of Illinois. When we say we're going to do something, that's why I want to say it publicly. If it should pass and it should come to fruition that we do get something where we can get money out of it, that's where the money's going to go. As long as I'm sitting here, that's where the money will go. I can't say anything about after my time is up, but in the meantime, I want everybody to know that's what's going to happen. So With that, it gives you food for thought. We're going into closed session.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. We have one item for closed session this evening. It's section 2C2 of the Open Meetings Act, collective negotiating matters. There will be no action taken after the executive session. The motion will be to go into executive session for section 2C2, collective negotiating, and then to adjourn right from executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee McCarthy, seconded by trustee Frizzaloni. Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Zalik.
Aye.
Trustee LaRocca.
Aye.
Trustee Geisler.
Aye.
Trustee Frizzoni.
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
See you later.
Thank you.